Welcome to the Channel 6 News. I'm Dee Tranter reporting. Officials used the Moab landfill to blow up some old and dangerous medical supplies. And environmentalists criticize a recent Bureau of Land Management rule change. We'll have those stories when Channel 6 News continues.
First Western National Bank is bringing affordable home lending back to Moab with 15 and 30-year fixed mortgages at very attractive rates. If you're thinking about buying a new home or refinancing your current loan, stop by and talk to our loan counselors. Home ownership and refinancing for very little down. Just another good reason that First Western National Bank is your hometown bank in Moab.
For all your insurance needs in Moab, it's Central Utah Insurance. Home, auto, business, and life. You can depend on the fast, friendly service at Central Utah Insurance, 471 South Main.
If you heard a few bangs Wednesday morning from near the dump, you were listening to the explosion of ether. For a couple of hours Wednesday, the Grand County Sheriff's Department and the Moab Fire Department closed off the landfill along the Sand Flats Road. The reason was to allow emergency management professionals to dispose of some old crystallized ether that had been part of an emergency supplies of Grand County. For decades, Moab has been the storage spot for a sort of emergency hospital ready to be put into action should some sort of major emergency occur. The facility was mobile and designed to serve the Four Corners area. But recently, the National Guard decided to renovate that mobile facility. And part of that renovation is the removal of old supplies that were either obsolete or, in the case of the ether, dangerous. Grand County Emergency Management Director Cliff Aldrich told Channel 6 what his department and the National Guard were up to on Wednesday.
We had a bunch of ether that has been there since the early 60s. We have an emergency hospital in case of emergency, and the ether was got to be destroyed. We just didn't want anybody fall asleep driving along the road or anything. That's the reason we closed the road. That's the reason we're not letting anybody in the dump right now to get rid of that ether.
How are they getting rid of it? How are they getting rid of it?
They're going to burn it. Actually, ether, if it crystallizes after many years, it is explosive, very dangerous.
Officials said the decision to get rid of the ether was a precaution and that it did not pose any real hazard to the people in the area.
My understanding was they were going to remove the ether this morning, and it was going to be taken to the dump and destroyed.
So how long has the ether been at the hospital?
As long as the hospital's been in existence, I have no idea.
Actually, the ether exploded rather than burned, but everyone was kept far enough away from the site that there were no danger to the public. In a previous report, Channel 6 interviewed Bureau of Land Management officials on their new regulations that will stop the practice of granting automatic stays to individuals or groups appealing development plans on federal lands. But not everyone thinks those new rules are good for the public. Here's Ken Davey with a report.
New rules will make it more difficult to temporarily halt oil and gas development plans on federal lands. And while the Bureau of Land Management believes the new rules will lead to more efficient decision-making, some environmentalists say the changes are a big step backward. The oil strike by Columbia Oil 1 year ago led to a jump in interest by other companies who have pushed to get environmental studies of their proposals through quickly. According to some environmentalists, the BLM has allowed too many poor plans to go forward, and groups such as the Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance have gone to the Interior Board of Land Appeals, the administrative court within the Interior Department. On plans for public land projects, parties affected by decisions have had the right to appeal those decisions, and the BLM has held off on implementing them until a hearing could be held. The agency had exempted oil drilling permits from that rule, but were told by the IBLA they couldn't do that anymore. They had to treat oil wells the same as other proposals. So now the agency has decided to change those rules. But one group that doesn't like the change is the Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance, which believes, according to Staff Attorney Scott Groney, that the public will lose an opportunity to stop BLM mistakes.
What they have done is they've made it so that you can't get review of their decisions. Now they can make decisions like they did on Dead Man Point, where their own administrative court found that they didn't let the public get involved, they didn't adequately consider wildlife impacts, and we were able to file an appeal, and their own court told them to go back and try again. Now they'll be able to get away with it, and people will not be able to challenge that decision.
But according to the BLM, anyone who doesn't like the conclusions of one of their statements of action has the ability to still go through an appeal process and still have it reversed. Isn't that true?
No, it's not true, unfortunately, because as we all know, the IBLA acts too slowly. And in fact, part of the problem has been the Utah BLM will not send the record to the IBLA within 30 days. IBLA will not act until they get the record, and the project will be done before the IBLA ever considers it, is the reality with oil and gas.
Groney's organization recently forced the BLM to take another look at a seismographic operation in the Dead Man Point area, and they also have gotten the agency to delay plans for chaining and roller chopping in the past. But now Groney says he worries that even if a proposal can be shown to be wasteful or environmentally damaging, the agency now will push forward with it.
I think it's important that citizens have the opportunity to challenge decisions made by our government. That's the way it should work. And they should have just left the system as they did, as it was originally. I mean, the problem is that we got a decision 8 months ago that told the BLM they had to follow their own regulations for the first time, and they didn't like it, so they just changed the regulations to cut public involvement.
The environmentalist response will probably be more court action, and that could end up costing the federal government, since they must pay legal costs when found to be wrong by a federal judge.
The regulations have the unfortunate effect of making it even more difficult for the public to get involved. What it means is that you now have to be a lawyer to be able to get involved with administrative decisions.
The new rules are in effect now, but BLM officials say they will continue with their policy of allowing a public comment period during their environmental assessment procedures. This is Ken Davey for Channel 6.
State officials say rural Utah can't keep up with the needs of the tourist industry. And a new bookstore opens in town. We'll have those stories when Channel 6 News continues.
Jeepers, four-wheelers, get ready for Jeep Safari. This year, the parts store is stocking extra equipment for the serious four-wheeler. Complete drive shafts, Ramsey winches, handyman jacks and come-alongs, bikini tops, tailgate nets, and got coolers for the serious rough country thirst. This year, be prepared. Maximize your Jeep performance to maximize your Jeeping experience with the Parts Store, your Big A Auto Parts dealer, 322 South Main.
Spring is here, and if images of shovels, rakes, sprinklers, hoses, fertilizer, and peat moss are running through your head, run on down to Moab Hardware and Furniture. This year, save backstrain with this handy thatching blade that fits right on your mower. Save money with Ace brand fertilizer, 20-pound bag, just $3.99, and we'll loan you the spreader at no charge. Moab Hardware and Furniture, the garden spot for all your gardening needs.
Rural Utah is unable to keep pace with tourist demand, says a special report presented to the Governor's Conference on Tourism and Recreation this week. According to the report presented by Brad Barber of the Utah Office of Planning and Budget and University of Utah economist Thane Robeson, tourism employs over 60,000 people in Utah and generates almost $3 billion. The growth of the industry has been impressive. Visits to national parks in Utah have been up 9.5% over the past year and up 7.2% at state parks. And over 14 million out-of-state visitors came to Utah last year. but the influx can put strains on the infrastructure of rural areas such as Grand County, where sewage and water systems may need to be updated, and increased numbers of people can impact medical and police services. Earlier this year, Robeson spoke to local businesses and political leaders in Moab at a special First Western National Bank luncheon. The building boom in Moab is noticeable to anyone driving down Main Street, but some new development can't be seen until you look inside the stores, and that's the case on Main Street between Center and First South, where a new business is now open. B. Osborne's Bookstore is now up and running. The store is owned by Bill and Margaret Osborne, former longtime residents who returned to town in order to run their own business.
We lived here for 19 years before working for City Market. Transferred out of town 6 years ago, moved around with them, and finally decided we wanted to come back to Moab so bad we made the move and came back.
What is it about Moab that you like so much?
Just the area, the people, everything about it.
What made you decide to open the bookstore?
Something we've been wanting to do, the wife and I have been wanting to do for almost 10 years, and we decided we'd take a fly at a business of our own and put together a bookstore and brought it to Moab.
The spacious store, occupying about half of the old Sprouse building, is everything you want in a bookstore, and according to the Osborne, service is the key.
Basically, the full-service bookstore with the full line of paperbacks, hardcover release, publisher's release, magazines. We also have all the area books, environment, everything that people need in the area.
Osborne's will carry a full line of magazines and out-of-town newspapers. If you need help in fixing an appliance or want a book on photography of Canyon Country or are looking for something you can read to your child, you can find it. There are special sections for mysteries, science fiction, and romance novels, as well as bestsellers, and a section of audiobooks as well. And if you can't find a book you want, Bill Osborne will get it for you.
And can you order books for people?
Oh yeah, anything and everything. We've got 4 different warehouses we're ordering out of. We have access to over 400,000 titles. So.
And if somebody wanted to order a book, about how long do you think it would take to get it?
Most of them a week, sometimes 10 days, 15 days, depending on the title and the availability. It depends on how far we have to go to get it.
B. Osborne's is holding its grand opening through Friday. The Moab Shade Tree Commission will hold a special meeting on Thursday, April 16th at 1 p.m. at the Commission Chambers of the Grand County Courthouse. The Shade Tree Commission looks at how trees can and should be placed on public properties, including medians and public rights-of-way. Grand County string students will be holding their spring concert Wednesday evening. The public is cordially invited to the free concert, which gets underway at 7 p.m. at Star Hall. It's professional wrestling in Moab. This Thursday evening, the high school Red Devil wrestling program is holding a special fundraising professional wrestling exhibition at the high school, featuring some of the stars of the professional circuit. There's money to send local high school wrestlers to the wrestling camp this summer. So come out to the high school Thursday evening, beginning at 7 p.m. for the International Worldwide Wrestlers Battle of the Superstars. Up next is Canyon Country weather forecast when Channel 6 News continues.
The Moab Golf Course has been described as the most beautiful in the state, so now that warm weather's here, why not come out to play the course that attracts golfers from all over the region? Individual and group lessons are available along with golf club and cart rentals. So come on out for some golf among the Red Rocks at the Moab Golf Course. For information, call 259-6488.
For the best RV camp park in Moab, it's Holiday Haven, with oversized spaces to accommodate the largest RV and cool, comfortable tent sites under mature shade trees, all with a convenient central location. Holiday Haven is also Moab's finest mobile home park that offers country living in the city, an established park with pool, playground, laundry facilities, and a retired section. For comfortable RV or mobile home living, it's Holiday Haven, 400 North, 5th West.
Through the seasons, through the miles, through the rough country of southeastern Utah, we get you through. We're GTE. We're your telephone company.
Storm clouds rolled into the valley on Wednesday afternoon, bringing lightning, thunder, and raindrops. That wasn't great news for Jeep Safari participants, but they can be cheered by the fact that things should get better as the week goes on. The official National Weather Service forecast calls for the rain to be over by early Thursday, leaving partly cloudy skies and afternoon thermometer readings around the 80-degree mark. By Friday, things should be even nicer with mostly sunny skies and temperature readings ranging from afternoon highs in the mid-80s to overnight lows around 55. The long-range forecast calls for partly cloudy skies, temperatures staying near 80 degrees. And that's news of Moab and Canyon Country. I'm Dee Tranter reporting. Have a good day.
Welcome to the Channel 6 News. I'm Jim Kelly reporting. The filing deadline passes for signing up to run for local offices, but not before a number of residents throw their hats in the ring. We'll have that story when the Channel 6 News continues.
First Western National Bank is bringing affordable home lending back to Moab with 15 and 30-year fixed mortgages at very attractive rates. If you're thinking about buying a new home or refinancing your current loan, stop by and talk to our loan counselors. Home ownership and refinancing for very little down. Just another good reason that First Western National Bank is your hometown bank in Moab.
You know, Pete & Company is the largest styling salon in southeastern Utah. But did you know they have casual wear? These go-anywhere styles take you from morning to evening, from work to play, comfortably in carefree cotton blends. Now colorful too, in bright spring shades. You'll love to live in it. Pete & Company, your place for style from head to toe.
Wednesday afternoon was the deadline for officially signing up to run for office this year. Here's Ken Davey with a report.
The 1992 political year has finished its first phase. Wednesday was the last day candidates could file for county and school board elections. And as usual, a number of local residents waited until right to the end before making up their minds. One seat on the county commission is open, and there'll be 5 candidates running for it. Current County Commissioner Sam Cunningham, who was appointed to fill the vacancy when Merv Lawton resigned, will run as an independent. The 2 major parties both have candidates signed up. Republicans vying for the job are Rick Hoover and Dale Mosher. And on the Democratic side, Joe Kingsley and Peter Haney will campaign for that position. Both parties choose their delegates to county conventions at caucuses or mass meetings later this month. Those delegates will then vote at the county conventions for the commission candidates. If one of them receives 70% or more of the delegate votes, they will become the party's nominee. If none of them receive more than 70%, then they go to a primary in the fall. Only one candidate signed up to run for county attorney, and that was Bill Benge. The current county attorney, Lyle Anderson, is a resident of Monticello and is not eligible to run for the office. But he isn't voluntarily leaving the public's eye. Anderson traveled to Salt Lake City, where he signed up to run for state representative. Anderson joins Moab resident and Times Independent newspaper co-publisher Adrian Taylor on the Republican side, along with Warren Linton of Huntington and Blanding City Council member Keel Johnson. The only Democrat running for the office is Dan Nakai. He was one of the Navajo slate that ran for San Juan County offices 2 years ago. The current state representative, David Adams, is going for higher office. He'll run for a state senate against Mike Dimitrich, a Democrat from Price. And the picture for local school board candidates also changed on Wednesday. The two candidates in the nonpartisan school board district number 2 remain the same. They will be Eric York and Glenna Oliver, and voters will choose between them in November. But in District 3, there was a change. Hospital Administrator Kim Hardman withdrew from the race, and stepping in was Darlene Nelson. She joins previously announced candidates Sue Godchak and Tom Stengel. So it looks like an interesting election year in local politics, with a good chance of some primary elections as well. This is Ken Davey for Channel 6.
For the past few months, the Canyonlands Recycling Center has been open, accepting materials ranging from aluminum cans to old newspapers. And now the center has taken a big step forward with the opening of 2 drop-off centers. One of these sites is at the east end of the City Market parking lot off Main Street, and it provides a convenient in-town location for both visitors and residents, according to Recycling Center Coordinator Nicholas Brown.
This is the new City Market recycling site. It's established by Canyonlands Community Recycling with City Market's help. We are at this site accepting glass bottles and jars, newspaper, aluminum cans, and tin cans. And we ask that people try and read the bins and put the appropriate item into the appropriate place where we've provided.
The recycling center has also set up another collection site catering more to the tourists swarming into Moab.
Right now, the other drop-off recycling site that we've established besides the recycling center, 1000 East Sand Flats Road, is up on the Slick Rock Trail. And that's primarily geared toward visitors that are coming into town, and we want to try and keep the place clean. And we've got aluminum cans dropped off there and glass bottles and jars.
All across the country, there is a growing shortage of landfill space. Here in Grand County, the landfill can last years longer if recyclable materials were kept out of it. And as technology improves, recyclables can become profitable business in the future. According to Brown, those are a few of the reasons that the program here in Grand County has been successful so far.
Response has been real good. So far we've collected about 50,000 pounds of material at the site. This site was just established last week, and it's already starting to fill up, and we're real encouraged by folks' participation levels.
But that success has meant a lot of work at the center, and Brown is hoping local residents who want the program to be successful can donate a few hours of labor to the project.
In terms of volunteers, we've gotten about 100 hours of volunteer help up at the site, just processing materials, painting, lettering on bins. Various projects that we have up there are fairly endless, and we really need help up there, and we really encourage folks to give us a call, 259-CCRC. Let us schedule you for an aerobic workout. Basically sorting glass bottles and jars, aluminum cans, processing the material, throwing cardboard into a baler, baling it. We're getting a large volume of cardboard at this point from various businesses in town.
The recycling bins at City Market are open 24 hours a day, and for information on volunteering time at the recycling center, you can call Nicholas Brown at 259-2272. B.F. Goodrich sponsors its annual Safari Week party, and middle school students learn about mountain men. We'll have those stories when the Channel 6 News continues.
Spring is busting out all over at Spanish Valley Nursery. Quality new stock is arriving almost daily at the best prices around. Select from an abundance of evergreen and flowering shrubbery and container-grown roses. Decorative grasses, ground covers, and ivies line the path to the greenhouse, where it's full steam ahead for flowers, vegetables, and herbs. And it doesn't stop there. The backup stock is growing in the wings. Come enjoy the bounty of spring at Spanish Valley Nursery, where it's always first quality.
Jeepers, four-wheelers, get ready for Jeep Safari. This year, the parts store is stocking extra equipment for the serious four-wheeler. Complete drive shafts, Ramsey winches, handyman jacks and come-alongs, bikini tops, tailgate nets, and got coolers for the serious rough country thirst. This year, be prepared. Maximize your Jeep performance to maximize your Jeeping experience with The Parts Store, your Big A auto parts dealer, 322 South Main.
For the unusual gift, try Sherry's Country Store Gifts. Sherry grew up around country stores and knows there has to be something for all the five senses. Something to see, smell, taste, touch, and hear, and give the sense you're a welcome customer. The walls are filled with unique goods from different corners of the world. So for the memorable gift of quality, come to Sherry's Country Store Gifts in the Western Plaza.
You may not be able to buy elections, but having money certainly doesn't hurt. That was one of the lessons political experts draw from the figures released by candidates for the U.S. Senate seat here in Utah. Federal law requires periodic release of campaign contribution totals by candidates for national offices. And the latest results here show that the top 3 money raisers are also the top 3 candidates in the polls. The biggest total of contributions have come into the campaign of Republican Joe Cannon, current president of Geneva Steel. Cannon has raised $2 million. Most of that comes from his own personal contributions. That was also the case with Democrat Doug Anderson, who has raised $1.3 million. And again, most of it came from his own personal wealth. The third candidate in terms of funds raised is Congressman Wayne Owens, who has gotten about $440,000, and that all came from other contributors. And those 3 candidates are also the top 3 candidates in the latest public opinion polls, which show Cannon and Owens just about even with Anderson in third. Other candidates who released their contribution figures include Bob Bennett, who raised about $300,000. He is followed by Brent Ward, who has raised just $40,000, and Ted Stewart, who has gotten only $26,000 so far. If the polls are accurate, there's a good chance that both the Democrats and Republicans will hold a primary to choose their final Senate candidates. It's Jeep Safari Week, and that means it was once again time for the B.F. Goodrich Special Safari Picnic. Dozens of guests came along for the ride along the Hell's Revenge Trail over the Slick Rock east of Moab. B.F. Goodrich sponsors the event partly as a way of honoring one of their best salespeople, Chip Brox, who runs Grand Tire here in town. And a special luncheon was served, provided by Kathy Binford and the staff of the Golden Steak Restaurant. While area national park attendance has been up so far this year, visitation to Dead Horse Point State Park is a little bit behind the record-setting pace of 1991. The latest figures from State Park Superintendent Rock Smith show that over 10,000 people entered the park in March of this year. That's 7% below March of last year. According to Smith, bad weather in the beginning of the month kept attendance down. So far in 1992, the park has had 15,000 visitors. That's 9% behind last year's pace. But even with the fewer total people, camping in the park is up, with 1,131 overnight guests at the campground, 3% ahead of this time last year. And Smith added that the campground has been full most nights for the past month. Spring is a good time for local residents to see the park before the heavy crush of summer visitors, and the Park Visitor Center is open every day from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Grand County Middle School students spent Thursday outdoors learning about the past. It was the annual Mountain Man Day for the students, who took time out from their classroom to look at some of the skills and traditions of early European visitors to this area.
This is Mountain Man Day, and we're all competing in different events.
And who puts Mountain Man Days on?
I think our history teacher, Mr. Walker, was mostly in charge of it, but all of the teachers have cooperated in it.
We have different obstacles going around. We're shooting arrows, and we're just learning what it's like to live in the wilderness.
At the center of activities was middle school teacher Jim Walker, who told Channel 6 the aim behind the event.
We went across the disciplines. Mr. Hamlin's English class had been doing tall tales. And this morning we started with the tall tale contest of the 3 top tall tales in each class. And then after that we had a mountain man come in and share mountain man talents and rendezvous and things like that. This year our mountain man backed out, so what we did is we had a modern day trapper come in and tie it back with the mountain man and show the kids the importance of conservation of wildlife, how we utilize that, and how he works a lot with the game warden and stuff, and they've actually trapped beaver and taken them to the mountain and those kind of things. And he talked to the kids about that. When they participate in each event, they're given a beaver pelt, which is a little brown piece of paper, and they come to the trading post and trade for trade goods. And then we'll have a craft day, and they'll make those up into whatever they want, such as a bolo slide or a barrette for their hair or a keychain, different things like that.
And Walker added that the day is an opportunity for the students to put a number of lessons to good use.
This is a culminating program of a history of unit on mountain men and their influence in Utah, plus the tie-in with the social studies, plus the tie-in with science on the ecology. So this is a kind of a culminating activity over the three courses.
The activities took place at the softball fields on Center Street. Up next is the Canyon Country weather forecast when the Channel 6 News continues.
Don't be left out this Jeep Safari. Get in on the fun with this 91 Ford Explorer at Certified Ford. This V6 automatic XLT comes complete with power windows and locks, air conditioning and cruise control for your ease and comfort, and pinstripes running boards and an AM/FM cassette for the sport in you. Low mileage too. See it today at Certified Ford.
Through the seasons, through the miles, through the rough country of southeastern Utah, we get you through. We're GTE. We're your telephone company.
Sunshine and high clouds stayed over the valley on Thursday with afternoon temperatures near the 80-degree mark. And expect the nice weather to remain, but just for a day or so. The official National Weather Service forecast for Moab and Canyon Country calls for sunny skies early on Friday. Look for afternoon mercury readings to be in the mid-80s. But by afternoon, that could begin to change, and not for the better. A front will pass over the state, bringing rain in the valleys and snow at higher elevations. The forecast for Saturday, the big day of the Jeep Safari, calls for rain showers, clouds, and temperatures dropping about 10 degrees into the low to mid-70s. And if you're in the canyons, you can expect some cold winds along with the showers. By Sunday and Monday, look for partly cloudy skies, temperatures staying in the 70s. And that's the news of Moab and Canyon Country. I'm Jim Kelly, reminding you to keep on smiling.
Welcome to the Channel 6 News. I'm Tricia Maroney reporting. The Sea Haven Shelter for Battered Family Members in Moab is closing its doors, at least temporarily. And the county agent says area growers and gardeners are in danger of losing their lawns and crops this year to insect infestation. We'll have those stories when the Channel 6 News continues.
How do you have an instant party? Just buy a sack of subs at Subway. Take them home and serve them family style. It's more fun because everyone gets a taste of everything and no one has to cook. So if unexpected guests drop by unexpectedly or you don't feel like cooking dinner, pick up a sack of subs at Subway. We specialize in solving emergencies with food.
For more information on these and other fine sandwiches, visit the Subway near you.
First Western National Bank is bringing affordable home lending back to Moab with 15 and 30-year fixed mortgages at very attractive rates. If you're thinking about buying a new home or refinancing your current loan, stop by and talk to our loan counselors. Home ownership and refinancing for very little down. Just another good reason that First Western National Bank is your hometown bank in Moab. The Sea Haven Family Shelter in Moab is closing its doors, at least temporarily. That was the message from Sea Haven counselor Stephanie Wallstrom this week when she spoke to Channel 6 about some of the problems the center is having. And the main ones right now are the lack of money and the lack of staff.
The current situation is that the Sea Haven Shelter has temporarily shut down. Our other programs are still operating, which are our outreach services, our educational programs, and our support group.
Sea Haven was set up as a place where family members, especially mothers and children, could go for a short time to get out of a potentially dangerous domestic violence home situation, or when they lose their homes.
Sea Haven is designed to provide shelter for domestic violence victims, women and children, and for homeless. We also provide outreach services, which include follow-up services for families who have come through the shelter and now reside within the community. That includes crisis intervention, emotional support, and education. We also provide an educational program where we go into the schools and talk about prevention and domestic violence, child abuse, date rape, etc. Our other program includes support groups, where we offer support group to women in the community who have experienced abuse in their history. We also offer, at the same time the group is going on, therapeutic child care, and those services are all free.
The center provided a place to stay, healthy food, and counseling and guidance at a time when compassion is desperately needed. But the staffing for the shelter has been volunteer, and there just aren't enough people helping now to keep it open.
Currently, the Housing Authority and the Sea Haven Shelter are joined together through mutual funding. Most of that comes through the Housing Authority, which does not provide for money for staff or administration services.
So in order to have people working in the center, you've got to go get volunteers.
Correct. Most of our programs rely heavily on volunteers. And currently we are at too low of a base to operate 24 hours a day. That's why we've temporarily shut down.
Sea Haven will be asking both the city and the county for help, as well as trying to recruit more volunteers.
We will be having another volunteer training the weekend of May 15th. And we will be also going in front of the city and the council this next Monday and Tuesday and asking for emergency money to fund to hire 2 positions part-time temporarily till we can secure either more volunteers or some more permanent funding.
But in the meantime, Moab families in need have lost, at least for a while, a valuable resource.
What do these people do now?
Now that the shelter's closed? Well, probably the same thing that's happened before Sea Haven had even opened, which is go to the Price Shelter or seek services through the community in other forms, which means they will probably have less opportunity to leave the situation. We will be available to transport families who are wanting and can leave the community to go to Price Shelter.
And how do people get a hold of you?
They can call 259-2229.
Seacaven is also seeking financial contributions from individuals and businesses. Although B. Osborne's bookstore has been open a week now, Friday was the official unveiling of Moab's newest retail establishment. It's operated by Bill and Margaret Osborne, who have returned to town with a full-service bookstore carrying novels, regional books, and general interest titles, as well as magazines and a selection of newspapers. And they were welcomed into the business community by Chamber of Commerce President John Fogg.
Presenting you with your very first dollar award, and we'd like to welcome you in business to Moab and our Association of Business. And we're officially open to reception.
All right, thanks.
The bookstore occupies half of the old Sprouse building on Main Street. Going into the Easter weekend, Moab is packed to the rafters with the culmination of the Jeep Safari, attracting thousands of four-wheel drive enthusiasts and thousands more coming to town to hike and bike the canyons. For those who like a nice, quiet, small town, all we can say is, at least you're not in St. George. That western Utah city is getting ready for spring break, which attracts high school students from across the state, and city leaders are getting ready. Last year, 352 teenagers were arrested. Motel rooms were trashed. City property was vandalized. This year, the city has rented the entire Days Inn Four Seasons Motel to lodge police officers, hired to augment the regular city force. And the National Guard Armory has been converted into a temporary teenage jail. And new city ordinances make it illegal to rent rooms to anyone under 18 years of age. One scary note, reports from the Wasatch Front say that some teenagers, hearing about all the precautions in St. George, are thinking of going somewhere else for the weekend, and Moab is near the top of that list. A part-time Moab resident is heading off for the U.S. Olympic Trials bicycle races. And County Agent Dan Nelson explains what you can do to save your plants this year from cutworm infestation. We'll have those stories when the Channel 6 News continues.
Jeepers, four-wheelers, get ready for Jeep Safari. This year, the parts store is stocking extra equipment for the serious four-wheeler. Complete drive shafts, Ramsey winches, handyman jacks and come-alongs, bikini tops, tailgate nets, and got coolers for the serious rough country thirst. This year, be prepared. Maximize your Jeep performance to maximize your Jeeping experience with the Parts Store, your Big A auto parts dealer, 322 South Main.
Spring is here, and if images of shovels, rakes, sprinklers, hoses, fertilizer, and peat moss are running through your head, run on down to Moab Hardware and Furniture. This year, save backstrain with this handy thatching blade that fits right on your mower. Save money with Ace brand fertilizer, 20-pound bag, just $3.99. And we'll loan you the spreader at no charge. Moab Hardware and Furniture, the garden spot for all your gardening needs.
For the last few years, Moab has been attracting thousands of people who come for the outdoor recreation, especially bike riding through the canyons and Slick Rock. But the staging of the Moab Roads and Moab Rocks bike races last week showed a different type of bike rider being attracted to town, those who treat it as more than just a hobby. And one of those people is Allison Dunlap, a professional bike rider who spends a few months each year here in Moab. Dunlap is Category 1 road racer and in the Pro Elite class of the mountain bike circuit. She was the 1991 Collegiate National Champion and is a member of the TGI Friday racing team. And she's accomplished those feats in a surprisingly short time.
I started cycling about 4 years ago. I went to college to play soccer, and unfortunately I got cut from the team. So I had nothing to do and basically took up cycling on a whim, and turned out I liked it and did really well and just kept going.
Racing is a tough way to make a living. with the careers for professional women racers seldom lasting more than 5 or 6 years, with races just about every weekend.
Training usually consists of some kind of ride every day. I varied the kinds of rides I do just like any athlete would. Certain days I have really easy rest days, recovery days, usually after a hard weekend of racing. Then that's usually followed by a day of sprint workouts and intervals on separate days. I'll also go for a really long ride usually, and then have another recovery day, and then I race for the weekend.
Allison races on a carbon fiber specialized bicycle equipped with the absolute latest in high-tech components from Shimano. And with their help, she is able to compete at a world-class level.
Right now, it's hard to believe, but I am making a living. I do get a salary March through August, and there is a lot of money to be had at the races. So I can, based on those two things, I can get enough to get food and pay my car insurance.
It's going to be a busy spring for Dunlap. She heads off to Arizona, then Arkansas, then 2 weeks racing in Japan, and then the event she's been aiming and training for, the U.S. Olympic Trials, and for a shot to represent the United States at the Barcelona Olympics this summer.
Yeah, the Olympic Trials are in June in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and our whole team will be there, and they select 3 women, so the competition is really tough. But everybody has a chance, so we'll definitely be there.
But with it all, Dunlap still finds time to spend a few months each year here in Moab.
I like Moab because it's just a wonderful place to hang out and to relax. It has great mountain biking. I have some wonderful friends here, and that's probably the main reason I show up as much as I do.
The races in Moab attracted a number of other world-class athletes, including the 1990 mountain bike world champion, female racer Julia Furtado, and the 1991 men's world champ, John Tomac. Agricultural officials in Grand County are very concerned about an infestation of cutworms, which can destroy lawns, gardens, and crops. Here's County Agent Dan Nelson to explain.
Lately, we've had a number of calls at the office regarding a little caterpillar that's prevalent this year for some reason. We're having lots and lots of cutworms, primarily 2 species, either the dark-sided cutworm or the dingy cutworm. There are literally hundreds of species of cutworms, but these 2 seem to be prevalent. We are seeing these typically showing up on yards, complaints of them crawling sometimes inside the home through windows or door areas. Also, they congregate under night lights very heavily to the point that in some cases the ground seems to just crawl with them. We do see damage on a number of crops. The subterranean cutworm tends to climb sometimes, but mostly he'll hide during the day and come out and feed at night. We get damage on crops such as this example in daisies. Also, they may affect irises, shrubbery, and even some ornamental trees and fruit trees. The damage can be very significant. As they increase in size, their appetite becomes voracious, and they'll attack weeds as well as desirable vegetation. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to train them selectively. In order to control these little caterpillars, we typically would use, for homeowners, diazinon, malathion, 7, or Dursban. Malathion has the disadvantage of not lasting very long. It only has about a 1-day residual, whereas diazinon or Dursban will last for a week or more. If you find that you have a horde of caterpillars, cutworms, similar to these in the trench, I think you may be able to apply simply diazinon, which is most commonly used, or one of the other recommended homeowner pesticides, and achieve effective control. For further information or specific questions, contact the County Extension Office at 259-7598. This has been Dan Nelson with Utah State University Cooperative Extension.
Up next is the Canyon Country weather forecast when Channel 6 News continues. Make Nelson's Heating and Refrigeration your first step to cool this summer with one of their new swamp coolers. Nelson's also offers parts, service, and installation. And if it's appliances you're after, Nelson's proudly presents Whirlpool and Maytag brands for low energy use, fewer repairs, and great warranties. Nelson's Heating and Refrigeration, serving Moab for 30 years, 1070 Bowling Alley Lane.
The Moab Golf Course has been described as the most beautiful in the state, so now that warm weather's here, why not come out to play the course that attracts golfers from all over the region? Individual and group lessons are available along with golf club and cart rentals. So come on out for some golf among the Red Rocks at the Moab Golf Course. For information, call 259-6488.
For the best RV camp park in Moab, it's Holiday Haven, with oversized spaces to accommodate the largest RV and cool, comfortable tent sites under mature shade trees, all with a convenient central location. Holiday Haven is also Moab's finest mobile home park that offers country living in the city, an established park with pool, playground, laundry facilities, and a retired section. For comfortable RV or mobile home living, it's Holiday Haven, 400 North, 5th West.
It was mostly sunny skies in the valley on Friday, with afternoon temperatures climbing to a very comfortable 82 degrees. But the future doesn't look that bright. The official National Weather Service forecast for Moab and Canyon Country says a massive cold front is expected to move over the entire state by the weekend, bringing clouds, rain, and lower thermometer readings. Look for some showers through Sunday, with highs on Saturday near 80 degrees, dropping to 70 by Sunday afternoon. And the long-range forecast says that rain should stop, but there will be lingering cloud cover through Tuesday, with temperatures going back up to near 80 degrees. And that's the news of Moab and Canyon Country. I'm Tricia Maroney reporting.
Welcome to the Channel 6 News. I'm Dee Tranter reporting. Moab was bursting at the seams with the biggest Easter weekend ever. We'll have that story when Channel 6 News continues.
Make Nelson's Heating and Refrigeration your first step to cool this summer with one of their new swamp coolers. Nelson's also offers parts, service, and installation. And if it's appliances you're after, Nelson's proudly presents Whirlpool and Maytag brands for low energy use, fewer repairs, and great warranties. Nelson's Heating and Refrigeration, serving Moab for 30 years, 1070 Bowling Alley Lane.
For the best RV camp park in Moab, it's Holiday Haven, with oversized spaces to accommodate the largest RV and cool, comfortable tent sites under mature shade trees, all with a convenient central location. Holiday Haven is also Moab's finest mobile home park that offers country living in the city, an established park with pool, playground, laundry facilities, and a retired section. For comfortable RV or mobile home living, it's Holiday Haven, 400 North, 5th West.
It was one of the biggest Jeep Safari weekends ever in Moab, and it wasn't all four-wheel drive enthusiasts. Moab was packed to the rafters beginning Thursday evening And right on through Easter Sunday morning, thousands of four-wheel drive enthusiasts, mountain bikers, and high school students on spring break crowded the streets. Saturday morning was the traditional downtown lineup for the more than 20 trail rides organized by the safari. Jeep lovers from across the country were in town for what Red Rock Four-Wheeler Vice President Doug McElhenney said was another successful safari.
What does the crowd look like this year?
Well, they're pretty good. It's about the same crowd we had last year. The weather kind of helped. We've got about 100 more than last year. Total participants.
You're about maxed out as far as the permits go and things like that for a day, one day. Do you see it getting bigger, or do you see it just staying at this level?
Well, at the present time under our permit, we're as big as we can get. And under the people that I've been working with, I think we're as big as we want to get. So unless we add a few more trails, I think we're going to be pretty close to this is it.
And it wasn't only Jeepers in town. The Jeep shared a number of trails with thousands of bike riders and high school students. According to a French journalist, Moab can expect more interest in the future, especially in Europe.
I work for a few French magazines, and one of them is a 4x4 magazine as a US correspondent.
And are you here for the safari?
Yeah. Also to do mountain bike story for another magazine.
What do you think of this area?
Moab, I think it's fantastic. It's great. We don't have any wide open spaces like this in Europe, so it's very nice. And I like the desert too. It's beautiful.
People here in Moab have noticed an increase in the number of European visitors in the last few years. Will that be increasing, do you think?
I think so, because there's more and more stories on Moab in European magazines, and it's just getting to be known. Although 5 years ago nobody knew about it in Europe.
With so many people in town, it can put a heavy burden on local services, including law enforcement. In the evenings, Moab police had an extra presence on the streets. The aim, according to Police Chief Alan West, was to make sure people knew the cops were on the job and to stop problems before they started.
Looking for erratic driving, basically improper behavior when the traffic's as heavy as it is tonight. Quite often it's next to impossible to turn around on a vehicle to get it stopped. So if we see somebody that's really out of line, then we'll call and see if there's another unit either north or south of you, depending on which direction, and see if they can intercept it for you. So we're just trying to make our presence known so that maybe we can keep a lid on it.
And the strategy seemed to work. As of Monday morning, West reported that while the police were busy, there were no major incidences.
This past Easter weekend proved to be relatively mild compared to several years ago. The last 2 years have been quiet. Real large volume of people. The changes over the last several years really has been our strict enforcement and high visibility policy, I think. That we have a lot of vehicles out there and a lot of visibility, and I think it calms things down in advance and keeps things from getting out of control.
But the city police were busy.
There were 64 citations issued for a total of 73 violations, and officers also issued 40 warnings for 44 different violations. So normally officers issue between 80 and 90 citations for a month's time. And so we had almost a whole month's total in the 1 week, and most of them were Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Out in the county, Jim Nyland and the Sheriff's Department had their hands full as people gathered along trails, county roads, and campgrounds throughout the area.
We handled 97 different instances in 3 days. We wrote out 65 traffic citations. We had 9 alcohol violations, and then we had 5 separate instances with DUIs in particular. 4 of those were adults and 1 was a juvenile. We had 5 people that were booked into the county jail. Most of the contacts that we made, they were a book and release type situation.
But the county also avoided any really big problems. According to Nyland, it was the biggest crowd ever.
I think this year was a lot larger than last year's participation, not only in the Jeep Safari itself, but just the actual people that were here in the county. You know, rough estimate, You know, I would say we had anywhere right around the neighborhood of 15,000 and maybe above people total in the county.
So you get pretty busy all weekend.
We were busy, 24 hours a day for at least a 3-day period was really busy.
There was one strange incident. Sheriff's Department officers reported that sometime over the weekend, someone went to the Sunset Memorial Cemetery and took the rear axle from a cemetery pickup truck. The Sheriff's Department said they were investigating but had no strong leads. All in all, it was a busy but generally safe Easter weekend in Moab. The Reverend Don Falk breaks his year-long silence after losing last year's Gumbo Cook-Off. We'll have that story when Channel 6 News continues.
For the unusual gift, try Sherry's Country Store Gifts. Sherry grew up around country stores and knows there has to be something for all the 5 senses. Something to see, smell, taste, touch, and hear, and give the sense you're a welcome customer. The walls are filled with unique goods from different corners of the world. So for the memorable gift of quality, come to Sherry's Country Store Gifts in the Western Plaza. First Western National Bank is bringing affordable home lending back to Moab with 15 and 30-year fixed mortgages at very attractive rates. If you're thinking about buying a new home or refinancing your current loan, stop by and talk to our loan counselors. Home ownership and refinancing for very little down. Just another good reason that First Western National Bank is your hometown bank in Moab.
Biking and jeeping weren't the only form of outdoor recreation available near Moab over the past weekend. Take a flying leap is what the advertisement said, and that's what they offered when bungee jumping was setting up shop south of town. Customers were hauled to the top of a crane. They were tied up in elastic, then jumped off, bouncing and swinging in the air until they were lowered to the ground. And Channel 6 refuses to report that business was up and down. Grand County Board of Education will hold a special closed session meeting Tuesday afternoon to discuss a personnel matter regarding the search for a new district superintendent. Current Superintendent Glenn Taylor announced earlier this spring that he would be leaving that job this year. That special meeting is closed to the public under Utah law. Public bodies such as a school board can close meetings to discuss personnel or pending lawsuits. But while the discussions can be private, any decision must be made in an open meeting. The Reverend Don Falk tells his story. Here's Ken Davey with a report.
If you were out on the streets Saturday morning watching the departure of the Jeep Safari trails, you might have caught a glimpse of a lonely figure standing quietly and isolated, watching the world go by. That figure was the Reverend Don Falk, pastor of the First Baptist Church in Moab. A year ago, Falk was a lively, energetic community figure. Then he took part in the first annual Gumbo Cook-Off, and his world was shattered. Falk lost the cook-off to local attorney Bill Benge. The loss sent him into hiding, and only now, on the eve of the second cook-off, does he have the courage to surface again. As many residents remember, Falk and Benge were involved in a grudge match to determine which was the true Gumbo King. Falk from East Texas and Benge from Louisiana traded a series of spiteful insults leading up to the contest. When Benge was declared the winner, it was devastating to Falk, and in an exclusive interview with Channel 6, Falk talked about the agony of the past 12 months.
It's been a real difficult year. People see me coming down the street and turn and go the other way, and some continuously offer sympathy and everything, and it's really a tough year to be defeated in a Gumbo Cook-Off, and especially, you know, by Bill Benge and the way he did it. And
There were innumerable accusations of cheating following last year's contest, with almost all of those remarks coming from Falk.
There have been stories that you've been complaining bitterly that it was a fix.
Well, I don't know who started those stories, Ken. Really, Bill and I both want to put this contest this year on a higher plane. I think it did get carried away last year. There was a lot of name calling and mudslinging, and we got together and decided this is a presidential year, and we want to sort of take our cue from the presidential campaign and get on the same high plane that they're on.
But that pledge to take the high road didn't last very long.
Somebody has been handing out these flyers about our gumbo cook-off, and they refer to Bill Benge as Bio Bill, and we're against that. Bill is a respected barrister in town, and to call him Bio Bill is, it's demeaning to his character.
On the other hand, Dandy Don sounds pretty good.
Well, I can handle that, but Bio Bill, that's pretty derogatory. And this year, though, we're gonna run it a little differently, and we're gonna make sure Bio Bill doesn't bribe the judges as he did last year, and this kind of thing.
In one of the lowest moments in organized competition ever in Moab, a major argument broke out during last year's contest. Benge was preparing his famous shrimp gumbo, while Falk chose to go with the delicious chicken version of the classic Louisiana dish. Then Benge made a discovery.
Hey, wait a minute, Don. Wait a minute, I want the press to see. Look what I just found in the kitchen here. Now we know where Don made how Don made his gumbo. Look at this.
There were a few dirty tricks that went on, and I don't want to rake all that up. He had Campbell's soup, gumbo Campbell soup in the kitchen, and brought it out when you guys were there and the television was there.
As I recall, the stories were that your own relatives admitted that you were using canned goods.
Well, but you would have to know my relatives. They're pretty crooked group themselves, But
that was last year, and Falk says he's ready to forget the past and look to the future.
I don't think you're really opening up enough. It's been 11 months now. There's been pain. There's been abject humiliation. There's been a total elimination of any self-respect whatsoever on your part. Do you think that there's any chance you can recapture that?
Well, if Bill, we're going to have different judges this year, Ken. That's really going to help. Bill picked the judges last year, and this is the year. And if I don't win this year, I think we'll probably disqualify Bill and not allow him in the. If he doesn't straighten up this year. But I want to say, before we close, we're going to keep this on a higher level this year. And Bio Bill has agreed that there's not going to be any name calling or demeaning of anybody's character this year.
So it's on again, the second annual Gumbo Cook-Off. It takes place this Saturday night at the First Baptist Church from 5 to 8 p.m. The cost of the meal is just $5 per person or $15 per family. And all of the money raised goes to the special church fund to send young people to summer camp. This is Ken Davey for Channel 6.
Up next is the Canyon Country weather forecast when Channel 6 News continues.
How do you have an instant party? Just buy a sack of subs at Subway. Take them home and serve them family style. It's more fun because everyone gets a taste of everything and no one has to cook. So if unexpected guests drop by unexpectedly or you don't feel like cooking dinner, pick up a sack of subs at Subway. We specialize in solving emergencies with food.
For more information on these and other fine sandwiches, visit the Subway near you.
For all your insurance needs in Moab, it's Central Utah Insurance. Home, auto, business, and life. You can depend on the fast, friendly service at Central Utah Insurance, 471 South Main.
Through the seasons, through the miles, through the rough country of southeastern Utah, we get you through. We're GTE. We're your telephone company.
Sunny and clear skies, but cool temperatures stayed in the valley on Monday, and look for some cool, breezy weather over the next few days. The official National Weather Service forecast for the area calls for some clouds the next day or so with some strong spring winds. It should stay on the cool side with highs hovering near the 70-degree mark, gradually warming up to the mid-70s by Wednesday and Thursday. And while there's a chance of some showers at higher elevations, it should stay dry here in the valley. And that's news of Moab and Canyon Country. I'm Dee Tranter reporting. Have a good day.
Welcome to the Channel 6 News. I'm Tricia Maroney reporting. Congressman Bill Orton will be in Moab this Friday to hear what you have to say about the economy and taxes. And the County Commission says they will likely help with emergency funds for the Seek Haven shelter. We'll have those stories when the Channel 6 News continues.
The Moab Golf Course has been described as the most beautiful in the state, so now that warm weather's here, why not come out to play the course that attracts golfers from all over the region? Individual and group lessons are available along with golf club and cart rentals. So come on out for some golf among the Red Rocks at the Moab Golf Course. For information, call 259-6488.
First Western National Bank is bringing affordable home lending back to Moab with 15 and 30-year fixed mortgages at very attractive rates. If you're thinking about buying a new home or refinancing your current loan, stop by and talk to our loan counselors. Home ownership and refinancing for very little down. Just another good reason that First Western National Bank is your hometown bank in Moab. The Grand County Commission will probably provide some money to the Seek Haven Family Crisis and Resource Center here in Moab. That was the conclusion of a discussion Monday morning at the County Commission meeting, where Sherry Griffith of the Seek Haven Advisory Board explained that the program's overnight shelter for possible victims of domestic violence has been forced to shut down.
As you, I'm sure, know, for the last couple of years, it's been running on less than a shoestring, really very minimal funding, mostly through the Housing Authority. And I'm here, I'm the president of Seek Haven, Inc., which we put together as a nonprofit corp to try and seek out some additional kinds of funding to get it funded. Mostly we're looking at foundation grants and some other federal grants. So that's what we're in the process of doing, because it's just been going downhill. It's in terms of funding. We're working real hard to keep the volunteer program up, but it's fallen down substantially. And because of the dependence we have on volunteers, it had to close its doors last week.
The Seek Haven program has provided living accommodations for close to 150 local residents over the past year and a half. Griffith told the Commission financial help is needed now.
So what we want to know is if you can help us with some stopgap. I don't know what you have in what's left in your budget. I know it's tight, but I think this is a real important facility that we need in this town, unfortunately.
Griffith estimated that the cost of keeping the shelter open for the next 3 months will be just under $5,300. She added she'll be approaching the Moab City Council as well for funds. And speaking in favor of helping was Sheriff Jim Nyland.
I would really recommend, that if we could come up with some money and maybe contact the city, which they're going to do to try to help, provide some funding. Because, see, the state law, requires us, especially on domestic violence situations, to go in and take better control of the situation. Well, with the Sea Haven that we have, which has been a tremendous help to us, because if we have to go in and try to find, and the law requires us to help find a place to put people in a domestic violence situation, this gives us a place for our officers to take somebody to remove them from the residence or wherever it may be. So I know that we're really tight on money and we're just really struggling, but I mean, this is one place that's really been a benefit to law enforcement.
Commissioners indicated they would like to help, but would need Clerk Auditor Fran Townsend to look at the county budget and see what can be done.
Before we can give you an answer to that, we need to give Fran time to figure out where we are with our budget.
Yeah,
we don't know where we are because we're in computers.
In other business, the commission discussed but didn't make a decision on whether or not to be part of the Utah Association of Counties program to analyze the county budget. They stopped short of doing anything when they were unable to agree on what it might cost.
They pretty much took it down for us as to how much it would, the small counties' portions would be. And he's, was it Brian that said he didn't think it would be any more than $500?
Yeah, but that's just the initial cost.
That's the software.
I mean, it's going to cost us about $8,000 to $10,000.
No, not Grand County.
That's what's his name, Scott told me. Hershey, was it from St. George? See, because they're doing it like that. Because I asked him, I was sent by him, and I said, no, I know that's just for the software, but what's this going to cost us by the time they charge us for the hours to put in? See, we voted against the year ago down in St. George because we felt that we were small enough that we know what we're, everybody knows basically what's going on. But at St. George or Salt Lake County, they would have to have it because those commissioners up there have no idea.
Well, they should have had it already.
So it is kind of a...
We need to look into it some more.
Double deal, but let's find out what Mike's going to do for sure.
Well, we need to get Betty in.
That's always the question.
Really.
Equestrian Center Director Sandy Bastian said it is getting too expensive for her to travel between the old Spanish Trail Arena in Spanish Valley and her office in the attorney's title building on Center Street, and that she would like the county to pay for her gas, and the commissioners said yes to the request. Commissioners reappointed Gary Wilson and D.L. Taylor to the Grand County Water Conservancy District, and they appointed Paul Morris to fill the vacancy caused by the resignation of Merv Lawton from the Spanish Valley Water and Sewer Improvement District Board. And the commission heard from Chris Murray, who told them that because of building on Cayena Heights, his land along Murphy Lane is flooded when it rains heavily. Murray asked that the county look to see if anything can be done to limit the flooding, and the commission agreed. The next commission meeting is scheduled for May 4th. Congressman Bill Orton will hold a special town meeting here in Moab Friday evening. Orton will discuss with local residents questions regarding the economy, the national debt, and federal taxes this Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. in the commission chambers of the Grand County Courthouse. And at the end of the meeting, he will open it up to questions and discussion on any topics and concerns of local residents. This will be one of a series of meetings Orton will hold throughout the 3rd Congressional District. He will then be traveling down to San Juan County for a similar meeting on Saturday. Citizens for Better Government say they will poll local residents this weekend on how they feel about changing the form of county government. We'll have that story when the Channel 6 News continues.
You know, Pete & Company is the largest styling salon in southeastern Utah. But did you know they have casual wear? These go-anywhere styles take you from morning to evening, from work to play, comfortably in carefree cotton blends. Now colorful too, in bright spring shades. You'll love to live in it. Pete & Company, your place for style from head to toe.
Spring is busting out all over at Spanish Valley Nursery. Quality new stock is arriving almost daily at the best prices around. Select from an abundance of evergreen and flowering shrubbery and container-grown roses. Decorative grasses, ground covers, and ivies line the path to the greenhouse, where it's full steam ahead for flowers, vegetables, and herbs. And it doesn't stop there. The backup stock is growing in the wings. Come enjoy the bounty of spring at Spanish Valley Nursery, where it's always first quality.
Today is a very good day. You've got a new set of wheels and a license to drive. You, my friend, are on a roll. Can your life get better than this? You bet your spandex, because you're going to McDonald's to wheel some delicious deals. Only 59 cents for a regular hamburger, 69-cent cheeseburger, and 99 cents for a chicken fajitas or breakfast burrito. Wow. You ask someone to pinch you. Ah, a volunteer. Yes, your life is good. And at these prices, it only gets better at McDonald's today.
Grand County's Citizens for Better Government will poll county residents this weekend and next to find out if people here want a change in the form of government and what kind of change they prefer. That was the message from the group's coordinator, Norm Shrewsbury. He told Channel 6 that this weekend the group will be asking residents what they think.
Okay, the polling will be this Friday and Saturday. There'll be two locations. One is at IGA, Best Value Foods. The other's at the post office here. It'll be from 10 to 6 on both days, and we'll have copies of the poll plus some information about the forms of government available so people can get some educational material to, make a better choice, and also just get their gut reaction, how they feel and what they'd like to see happen.
The Citizens for Better Government group was formed earlier this year when about 150 residents came together with a variety of concerns about the current three-member county commission. Shrewsbury was part of that meeting. We discovered a while back that there was a definite interest in changing the form of government. What wasn't clear was what that direction should be. A committee starting with about 150 people sat down and tried to define what their interests were. We distilled that to a questionnaire, and what we want to do is provide those questions to the citizens of the county. There's a lot of options, different forms of government. We wanted to get some feedback before we designed the actual form of government that we would offer them as a change to the present. Should the city and county governments be combined? Should the number of commissioners be expanded to reflect more of the county's diversity? Or should things be left as they are? Those are some of the questions residents will be asked. What we want to do, there's so many options of changing the government. We want to represent the majority of the people. We're going to go through the poll. It's divided into sections of types of government possible, whether it's consolidation of the city council and the county government. In terms of one form of government, that's an option, or just enlarging the present commission. The questions are how many commissioners would they prefer? Would they like the commissioners elected by at large from the entire county or by district? Shrewsbury said the group also plans a telephone poll. We wanted to do a second poll realizing people may not be available Friday and Saturday, and we wanted to, through some research we've done, get the most fair, unbiased poll we could. We're going to be calling 100 people at random throughout the community as a special phone poll. We'll be asking the same questions, but we'll do it in a more systematic, random approach. We'll compile the information from those two polls to come up with our final results. So in the next week or so, you may be getting a call from one of our volunteers, and they'll identify themselves as, being on the committee of Grand County Citizens for Better Government. And Shrewsbury added that the reaction to the group has been positive.
What has been the response of people in town to it?
Well, in terms of wanting a change, it's been quite dramatic. I would just say the phone calls I get at work, the people I talk to on the street all say they're very positive about the change. They think it's going about in a reasonable process to try and improve the state of the government in the county. So that's been real exciting. What hasn't been clear in how the poll came about is everybody had their own opinion. We all agreed we wanted to change, but we weren't sure exactly what. And a random sampling of people calling me at my office didn't tell me what I needed to really represent the community. So that's where the poll came about.
And we're going to try and really nail down the facts from this poll of what the alternate form of government could be.
The polling takes place on Friday and Saturday at Best Foods on South Main Street and the Post Office on First North. And the Citizens for Better Government will hold a meeting Tuesday evening for people who would like to help organize the survey.
At 7 o'clock at Star Hall, we're having a volunteer organizational meeting. We'll go over the poll, the questions, the fact that this is really meant to ask questions, not answer them. We don't want to tell people what they should want as a form of government, but we do want to provide some education because the issues are complex. Changing the form of government is not a simple process. So we want to go over Tuesday night how to conduct a poll and just give the volunteers some information.
But the process of changing the form of government is long. First, petitions signed by 15% of the total number of people who voted in the county in 1988 must be obtained. Then they are turned over to the county government for study, then sent to the state attorney general's office, and then, if everything checks out, the question can appear on the ballot. How the Waste Was Won is a special video presentation that will play here on Channel 6 on Wednesday evening, Earth Day. The video, produced by Public Television and funded by the Colorado Office of Energy Conservation and the Federal Environmental Protection Agency, is being brought to local viewers by the Canyonlands Community Recycling Center. The video, 12 minutes in length, explains some of the problems and solutions to waste problems, including source reduction and recycling. The video will be broadcast at 7 p.m. this Wednesday evening, April 22nd, on Channel 6. Also on Wednesday, the Recycling Center will be giving demonstrations and providing information at the center on Sand Flats Road from noon to 5:30, and at City Market from 4 to 7 p.m. And on Wednesday, there will be a special prize for the person bringing in the most residential recyclables. The Friends of Moab will be holding a special Earth Day community project Wednesday evening. Moab residents are invited to come to the empty lot at 267 North Main Street from 6 to 8 p.m. to help in a beautification plan. There will be weeding, mulching, and planting, and a short informal meeting of Friends of Moab. Up next is the Canyon Country weather forecast when the Channel 6 News continues.
The Nike Air Moab, only at RIM.
Through the seasons, through the miles, through the rough country of southeastern Utah, we get you through. We're GTE. We're your telephone company. It was bright sunshine in the valley on Tuesday, with afternoon highs in the upper 70s and blue skies all around. But there could be a change this week, as a storm front is expected to pass over southeast Utah by Wednesday. The official National Weather Service forecast for Moab and Canyon Country calls for clouds and a chance of some rain showers. Look for high temperatures around the 70-degree mark with overnight lows in the 40s. And the long-range forecast calls for partly cloudy skies Thursday and Friday, back to temperatures around 80 degrees. And that's the news of Moab and Canyon Country. I'm Tricia Maroney reporting.